we have here for you, we found in a forward from 2007, which is September 26, 2007, Arts and Culture, posters from a doomed city. These are posters that were found from the Vilna Ghetto. And these are the various posters. We'll read about this in a moment or two. Here you see, take a look at all these posters. Here. These were posters, they were made into a book. And they were, this is by the Vilna Gaon State Museum in Vilna. And here you see all these various posters. These were actual posters that were on the Vilna Ghetto. This is a story by, this is reported by Zachary Schellenberger. Posters from a doomed city. Okay, we'll start reading right now. In 1941, the Jews of Vilna were herded into a ghetto. By 1943, most of the Jews in this ghetto were killed, despite the armed resistance of a few. This is the narrative that most Jews today have internalized, perhaps with one addendum. Many of the tens of thousands of Jews in the Vilna ghetto tried to lead normal lives, and this, too, was a form of resistance. But an attempt at normal life, even in the teeth of slaughter, is not just resistance. It is a different response to death entirely. The creative building of community, the grand and awful civilization occasioned by the Nazis, is depicted in an album titled, quote, Vilna Ghetto Posters, recently issued by Lithuania's Vilna Gaon Jewish State Museum. These 83 posters are evidence of what the Jews in the Vilna Ghetto did from day to day in the midst of genocide. For that reason, they deserve our attention. For the Jews of Eastern Europe and our Holocaust memorials have had their deaths reenacted again and again, while their lives have been forgotten. Like life, these Vilna Ghetto posters are not inspiring at first glance. Some of them could even be called uninteresting. The sort of thing we would pass on a busy Manhattan street without a second glance. A Hanukkah party, a lecture, a basketball game. But initial glances can be deceiving. First, many of these posters are handwritten, some with calligraphic skill. Second, the great majority of them are in Yiddish. And third, and most important, the posters are the uppermost visual layer of daily life in the ghetto. The most famous record of the ghetto's short life is the classic diary of Herman Kruk, K-R-U-K. But this is in Yiddish. Even in translation, and as a work of genius, it cannot help but be locked into the cliched genre of Holocaust literature and thus be ignored by people who otherwise might find it interesting. To see these posters multicolored, crisp, and restored to something like their original appearances by the expertise of archivists is to be reminded of the organizations that sprang up almost overnight after the Jews were forced into the ghettos. Theaters, schools, clinics, orchestras, art exhibitions, concerts. These are modern memorials of a modern slaughter and are immediately eloquent. It's a lavish volume, too high in price for the average book buyer, but one hopes affordable for libraries and institutions. The posters are reproduced side by side with translations into Lithuanian and English, not without some awkward turns of phrase and outright errors, at least in the English. Just as fascinating as the posters are the biographies in back of the book of those who figure in them: artists, pianists, writers, teachers, doctors, and scholars. A sampling in May 1942, a puppet play was organized by the Jewish wardens of the Ghetto Gate. Their insignia, two German letters intertwined, crowns the poster. In the summer of 1942, you could have bought tickets for a number of various tournaments: basketball, volleyball, youth sports, broad jump, high jump. On December 13th, 1942, at 12 o'clock, there was a celebration of the 100,000th book loaned by the Ghetto Library. Almost 2 weeks before that was a gala Hanukkah celebration titled, quote, "What the Candles Have to Say." N. Landau spoke about the miracle of Hanukkah, and C.H. Bartman, perhaps Chaim Bartman, talked about the victory of the Hasmoneans. Their fates are unknown. It isn't clear whether SZJ Zub, SGJ period Zub, and his topic at the gala, the Jewish mother, was the son of Rabbi Yosef Zub. Zub's son was deported after the liquidation of the ghetto, together with his sister, to Estonia's concentration camps. Abram Leibel Nebotchik, his subject was Judaism and Hellenism, quote, died of general body exhaustion several months prior to liberation. Quote, the choir members say it was very difficult to meet in the beginning. Writer Matza Rolnick relates in her ghetto memoir, quote, that the choir would diminish after each action. Action, it says with a capital, that means the action that the Nazis took against the Jews, unfortunately. The choir would diminish, after each attack on the Jews by the Nazis, the choir would diminish after each action, and they'd have to find new people. But it's not easy. Some claim that they get very tired. Others aren't allowed by their family, and the majority are in mourning. But still, they would rehearse each Tuesday and Friday. Now they have 2 rooms, a piano, and even a uniform. End quote. The Hebrew choir performed February 13th and 14th, 1943, accompanied by a symphony orchestra. Seats were on sale starting at 0.30 Reichsmark. So that's the end of that article here. And here, I don't think we showed this particular over here. It says here, Blurred History. A poster announces a lecture about mass psychology. It says here, mass psychology. Mass psychology. This is a poster. And here, this is from the walls of the walled inn. This is a new book, showcases 83 posters from the Vilna ghetto, evidence of what the Jews there did from day to day. And let's see again one more time the original array of posters that we have pictured here on the forward. There we go. This is a book. This is from a book that the Vilna Gaon Jewish State Museum published, and this was in 2007. This was. So we have that, and we have another interesting article here. This is about here. Look at this interesting poster here. This is another thing altogether. Gevolt. This is Spielji mir a little in Yiddish. But well, anyway, this is about. Hold on a moment. This is about where some heavy metal musicians. Their ages from 23 till about 31. They got together and they decided they are going to do their music in Yiddish. And let's read a little bit of that. We'll read selections from this. This is by Mordechai Scheinfeld. This is, try this one on for size. In 2001, The members of the band Gevolt, 6 Russian Israelis, ages 23 to 31, based out of Ashdod, released their first album, Siddur, a collection of heavy metal songs performed in Russian. The album generated indifference. And so, in search of a larger audience, Gevolt decided to switch to Yiddish. The band members come from a diverse music scene, a possible explanation for the nervy eclecticism of their music. They've all played in other bands, including art rock, punk, metal, progressive metal, classical music, and electronica. Yevgeny Kushner, the band's guitarist, plays in 2 other bands in his spare time. A rock fusion psychedelic band called Sumo Elevator and a psychedelic duo, Bakni. Now, let's see. It says, quote, metal has its own energy, which you won't find in jazz, psychedelic, or klezmer music, for instance. Kushner said, the key word is power. By wrapping Yiddish words in metal music, Gevolt is trying to bring this power to Yiddish, to resurrect it. On a cover of Hirschglick's famous Warsaw Ghetto.part partisan song, quote, Zog nit kein Mol, as du gehst dem letzten Weg. Zog nit kein Mol, as du gehst dem letzten Weg. Never say that you are on the final road. That power manifests as defiant musical explosions and furious lyrics. It is not merely a musical adaptation. Gevolt's cover seems to be the natural form that the song should take. All rage and fury, fist waving. It is in the partisan song, in fact, that Gevolt distinguishes itself, using a mismatch of genres to add meaning instead of eliciting a joke. The other 2 songs on Gevolt's promo are the light festive Tumbalalaika and Jake Cotlier's Spiel je mir a Lidele in Yiddish. Play me a song in Yiddish. Tumbalalaika retains many of its original sounds, and the melody can be detected from within the harsh guitars and liquid metal sounds that appear on the track. And this fealty to the original tune may win Gevolt's non-traditional fans, as Kushner noted when asked what his grandparents think about Gevolt. Quote, an interesting fact, put some Metallica to a Jewish old man and he will say that it is noise. But right after he hears Tumbalalaika in our heavy manner, he begins singing, he said. Thus the freshest and most surprising sound in the Yiddish revival is the one most steeped in history. Gevolt's new music is like a resurrection, a theme not unheard of in metal music, and one that Kushner would probably describe with a bare but telling adjective, headbanging, quote-unquote headbanging. Now, this is about the writer. Mordechai Scheinfeld is a music critic who has written for Rolling Stone, The Village Voice, and the New York Press. He also writes a weekly online music column called Melody Macher for the Forward, which this week features a related Gevolt piece and sound clips. Here we have the members of Gevolt. This is the Russian-Israeli members of the group have all played in other bands, including art rock, punk metal, classical, and electronica, which may explain the eclecticism of their music. Gevolt, that's in Yiddish. Spiel je mir a Lidele in Yiddish. Play me a song in Yiddish. So that would be an interesting thing to see. That would be an interesting thing to explore. Heavy metal band is trying to resurrect Yiddish. Gevolt. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you next time.